Hi, I'm Issa, and today I wanted to do a little bit of a mid-year check-in about what I've been reading while also doing my makeup because I have to go run some errands. Because we love multitasking. So question number one is, what has been your favorite book of 2021? And I gotta be honest, it's a little bit tough for me to pick, so I'll just name a couple of options. Usually I'm a big fantasy reader, but I haven't done that much fantasy reading this year. But one of the ones that I did read that really stood out to me was Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. It's a pre-colonial fantasy, there's multi-perspectives. I thought it was really great, and I'm so excited for the next book in the series. Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Also another fantastic book. I picked it up because I wanted to do this YouTube video that didn't really pan out of me reading books that were cult favorites of book Twitter specifically, and I'm so glad I picked it up. It's short, has some of the most beautiful writing I've ever read, immaculately gothic. If y'all know me and gothic, dark, that type of aesthetic really get on well, and this was no exception. Honestly, absolute gem of a book. In terms of nonfiction, I recently read this collection of essays and short stories called Goodbye Again by Johnny Sun, and I really loved it. It's one of my most recent reads, so that's why I'm a little bit hesitant, but I found that a lot of the subject matter that was discussed was things that I resonated with really heavily, and it was written in a very impactful way, at least for me, so I would highly recommend. So question two is, what has been your favorite sequel so far in 2021? Like I said earlier, my year has been a little bit light on fantasy, but specifically fantasy series. But you know what I have been reading? Romance, specifically romances that have sequels. And so there's two that I really liked. One of them is out, one of them I believe is not out yet. So we have Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I absolutely adored Eve and Jacob. So excited for Talia Hibbert to come out with Pride and Prejudice inspired series. That's it. I'm done. I will stop reading after those come out because that's all I need. I read a NetGalley e-arc of All the Feels by Olivia Dade. It's the companion sequel to spoiler alert. I kind of read it on a whim, but I ended up really liking it. It's got the actor, person who works for actor trope, forced proximity, sunshine, harpy dynamic. Also, because that entire series is about fan culture, I was hesitant at first because sometimes fan culture, nerddom, when written in books, can come across as a little bit cringy or doesn't really represent accurately what it's like writing fanfiction, reading fanfiction, that kind of thing. But you can definitely see that the author definitely knows what they're talking about in terms of fanfic, and it's really sweet to read. I believe it comes out a little bit later this summer, so if that's your type of thing, definitely would check that out. The next question is about new releases that I have not read yet but want to. I definitely have a ton to talk about, so I'll do a lightning round. Chosen and the Beautiful, which is a retelling of The Great Gatsby, but featuring Jordan Baker specifically as a queer Asian woman. Normally I'm not one for Gatsby retellings, but this one in particular I'm really excited to read. We also have Half Sick of Shadows, which is an Arthurian retelling through a feminist lens. Also, that cover is stunning. I know that Rachel Lynn Solomon recently came out with a book. I think it's called We Can't Keep Meeting Like This. I have loved Rachel Lynn Solomon's other YA book, Today Tonight Tomorrow, and also really liked her adult romance, The X Talk. This one in particular is about weddings and people who work the wedding circuit. I love weddings, and so I'm excited to check that out, but I just haven't had time to go and seek out a copy. The next question is about most anticipated releases for the year. And boy, do I have them. First of all, right off the bat, When Night Breaks by Janella Angelis, the sequel to Where Dreams Descend. If you know me, all of my friends know that Where Dreams Descend is one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites. I'm biased. Where Dreams Descend is a YA fantasy with a lot of elements of Moulin Rouge, Phantom of the Opera, a ton of magic, magicianship. I don't think magicianship is a word. Not trying to spoil anything, but I know that this installment, When Night Breaks, is going to have some influences of Hadestown and Orpheus and Eurydice, and I'm so excited because once again, Janella Angelis is coming specifically for me, so obviously I'm going to talk about it. Also, Mona Awad's book, All's Well, is also coming out soon. And I know that one is Shakespeare inspired, and I know that Mona Awad's other book, Bunny, is a little bit controversial. People either love it or hate it. I was in the population of people who loved it, so I'm really excited to see what All's Well is like. Also, I really like the UK cover more than I like the US cover, so I'm probably gonna get the UK cover. Jade Legacy comes out later this year. Jade Legacy is the third book in the Greenbone saga by Fonda Lee, and so Jade City, Jade War, and then coming this fall, Jade Legacy. And if you know me, Jade City is one of my all-time favorite fantasy books. I started reading the series last year, absolutely fell in love, will not shut up about it. Also, a TV show is in the works for Jade City, so that's all I'm saying. But I'm really excited for the conclusion. The Greenbone saga has this thing of where the first book starts off very local, and then the second book talks a lot more about like regional implications of the actions in the first book. And then the third book, from what I believe, is going to have some more global and international implications. So I'm really excited about that. I also know that The Bronze Beasts, which is the final addition to the Gilded Wolves series, is also going to be coming out soon, which I'm really excited for, because every single time I finish one of those books, my heart breaks a little, because they always end on such like cliffhangers that I'm really excited to see where they've been and what they've been up to. Also, A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I don't know too much going in, but I know that there's magic, there's rivals, it's sapphic. Very excited. Now that we got our positivity out of the way, I can talk about the next question, which is biggest disappointments. I'm gonna say A Vow So Bold and Deadly, which is the final book in Bridget Kemmer's Cursebreakers trilogy. I don't know, I just feel like I was really hoping for a lot with that specific third book, because I really liked the first book and really did not like the second book. So I was hoping maybe the third book would at least like have some sort of redemption, or I would like the third book a lot more. Twas not the case. I just feel like it fell kind of flat. I was not as invested as I was in the first, and that was kind of just really sad, because I thought at least like we'd go out with a bang, but no, it was just kind of going out with a fizzle, at least in my perspective. It just didn't end the way that I hoped it would. No hurt feelings, just a little bit disappointed. A lot of these disappointments necessarily weren't bad. I really tend to be picky with my books, so I end up not reading a lot of like bad books. It's more that I have expectations that the book doesn't really fulfill, which is totally fine, just personally for me. Malibu Rising was another one, but I can explain, because I still really liked it. I just think I kept subconsciously comparing it to Taylor Jenkins Reid's first two books. My ranking stands as Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones and the Six, and then Malibu Rising. I really liked what she tried to do. It just fell flat for me in comparison to the magic that was reading Evelyn Hugo, or it didn't have the novelty of being written in interviews like Daisy Jones and the Six. It was good in that the story was really gripping. I just felt like I built up this whole excitement of a new Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I feel like I kind of set myself up for failure, so I don't know. And now we're gonna talk about biggest surprises. Biggest surprises, I would say Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers was for sure a big surprise. I picked it up because I saw Kate from Your Tita Kate recommend it, and I was really curious. Didn't have too many expectations. Absolutely loved it, especially because I was a couple of months out from grad, and it really encapsulated a lot of my anxieties about the real world and all of that jazz, that I just adored it. Absolutely adored it. Dowry of Blood was also something similar in that I didn't go in expecting too much, even though I knew other people really liked it, and then was just like absolutely blown away. Camera stopped recording for some reason, which is very cool. Next question is favorite new author, favorite new to you author. I'm gonna say Rebecca Rowanhorse, S.T. Gibson, Morgan Rogers, Johnny Sun. I haven't read that many repeats throughout this year, but those were names that really stood out to me. Next question is newest fictional crush. I used to have a ton of fictional crushes when I was really young, but as I've grown older, I feel like I don't really do the whole crush thing anymore. That being said, Alex from People We Meet on Vacation Call Me. Next question was newest favorite character. Hands down, Eve Brown. Absolute delight. Has a lot of depth. Has a lot of humor, wears her heart on her sleeve, love her. Next question is books that make you cry. I don't really cry when it comes to books or consuming media, even though I have those really strong emotions. Something in me just doesn't really like crying. That being said, 2 books brought me close. One of them was Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. Absolutely beautiful book. And Goodbye Again by Johnny Sun. It was the last book I read before I moved out of my college apartment. When I opened that book, literally the week of move out, the first essay was about moving out and how sometimes, even though you've lived a place for so long, there's secrets that you still haven't been able to learn about the place you've been. It was just such a timing thing that I was like so close and like so close to tearing up. So in contrast, books that made me happy, I'm gonna say it's The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. It's a workplace rivals to lovers that takes place at a radio station, and they have to pretend to be exes for a podcast. I really liked it. It takes place at a public radio station while I was working my student job at a public radio station. So it was really cool getting to read about that while also working within that sphere. And so that was also another level of like immersion, I guess you can say. But I really liked that book. That book made me grin a lot. Another romance that made me grin from ear to ear was It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I read it via NetGalley eArc and absolutely adored it. I went in with some hesitation, but by the end, the characters and the situation just won me over. It's inspired by Schitt's Creek, but it takes place in like this fisherman town. It does have that like Schitt's Creek big name in a small town kind of feel, and every single person I adored. And I can't wait for the next book. Like, give me the next book now, Tessa Bailey. If you are watching this, now, please. The next question is most beautiful book you were able to obtain or have obtained this year. I feel kind of proud of myself in that I curbed my book spending a lot this year because I started using my library a lot more. I started using my Kindle a lot more. Started using my Libby app a lot more, so I didn't have as many physical books as I normally do, but I can talk covers, because if there's one thing about me, a bitch loves covers. First of all, right off the bat, Dowry of Blood. Fantastic, gothic, again, amazing. The colors, the like oil painting Dorian Gray aesthetic, living for it, dying for it. The next 2 I actually have here on my coffee table, For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. Absolutely gorgeous cover. Did a soft put down because I got busy with life. Haven't picked it up again just yet, but I really do want to, probably during the fall, because look at that cover. I can't not put it down. And then the second one is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Need I say more? Amazing. And so the final question is, what do I want to read by the end of the year? Whole laundry list aside from a ton of the books that I mentioned in earlier questions. Ace of Spades, a lot of my friends have ended up loving it, and I want to see what all the hype is. The Midnight Library, one of my real life best friends told me that I would love it, so I have to read it now. There's so many more that I have not even considered. I think a lot of the new releases are going to be what's going to take up my TBR space for the rest of this year. This is the finished face. We have reached the end of the mid-year book freakout tag. Thank you for sitting with me while I do my makeup, and I will see you in my next upload. Bye!